The Uganda we want. So mu Uganda gye twagala mu lutalo luno olw'okulwanyisa obulabbayo obukenuzi nze kyempita obuvundu. Munna Uganda alina okuba nga yeenyigiramu.
Ffenna twenyigire mu lutalo.
Ate abalala tebasomye kuzimba wabula bayize okuzimba.
Uganda gye twagala okulaba ng'enguudo zonna nkole nungi, public transport nga weeri.
Kati eno gavumenti eriwo erina akabonero ka Lucifer. Buli kyotunulako mu Uganda kiriko oxygen. Either babika amawulire malungi oba mawulire mabi. Minisita teyeetagisa kabangali budde buno zaaki.
At this time, why should somebody import furniture from outside Uganda? Let us leave NRM to be in charge for another 36 years or more.
I really want to see a Uganda that believes in the rule of law. If you have a constitution in place, follow it to the letter. Don't change laws just because you want them to favor you.
Kuba njagala omanye nti obugagga bwonna Uganda bwe yeeyagaliramu buyita waffe ku ttaka lyaffe. Naye busoga mugidibaze.
How can a referral hospital refer you to a private clinic? The Uganda we want buli muntu ateekwa okumanya nti I am a stakeholder, nkwatibwako si kwesuulirayo gwa naggamba.
Uganda oyinza okukakana nga mwe mulina bagraduates aba university nga bangi okusinga ebungereza. Mwe mufokasinga nnyo ku degree. Eri bo bafokasinga nnyo nti byensomye mbijjeemu omulimu n'enkola.
We are dreaming of a Uganda where at a young age there is such a relationship between parent and son, parent and daughter, where the daughter can say this is what I want.
Uganda gye twagala empya tesobola kubeerawo nga tewali mateeka. Amateeka agakola.
The Uganda we want. Welcome to the program, The Uganda We Want. My name is Mulanzi. I'm so delighted to come back again and we talk about the Uganda we need, the Uganda we long for, the Uganda we desire, the Uganda we must have. I'm reminded of the words of Apostle Paul when he was planning his visit to Rome. He could always tell them, I long, I yearn, I want to come. At the same time, he said it in Philippians when he was talking about, he was sending the man Epaphroditus. He was like, yes, you go tell them, I long for my coming. Now, right now, I am longing for the Uganda that we need. And there's a reason why I am here. The Uganda we are in, I want to be open to you. It is not a Uganda we want. It's not a Uganda we need. There is a Uganda that we need. So through the guidance and the vision of Apostle Dr. Joseph Serwada, who initiated this program, it was, okay, you get Ugandans. Let them come on the table. Let's have the Dream TV, the Doxa TV, the Impact FM dialogue. If a country cannot have a dialogue, Dream TV, Doxa TV, Impact FM can have a dialogue where Ugandans come on table and we talk about our issues. Actually, they don't just talk about these issues. They give us a way. How can we achieve that Uganda that we desire? And once again today, we have Apostle Charles Tumwine'S, Senior Minister at New Life Harvest Church International, Buate. So we are with him. Again, he's going to share with us the kind of Uganda that he envisions. Apostle, it's always an honor for me to have you on the show, The Uganda We Want. Could you please greet our viewers and our listeners for this case?
Hello, our viewers. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, depending on the time zone in which you are, because Impact Media Consortium reaches a very huge spectrum of space. I know someone who could be watching and it's evening, it's nighttime, it's about to be morning, and someone could be watching in Uganda and it's an afternoon. So in whichever time zone, my name is Charles Tumwine'S, like you heard from the producer himself. I'm the team leader of New Life Harvest Church International, but the congregation of Buwate. We got several satellite churches spread across Uganda, but I am based in Buwate, in Chiram Municipal Council, in the suburbs of Kampala, where we stem to reach out to the nation, to the world, with the gospel of the truth, but also with the guidance that is necessary, you know, the civic guidance to God's people and to our people. I'm excited to be here.
Well, before I say anything more, I want to first bring greetings to you from two people.
Yes.
When I went to the West, we wanted to hear which Uganda do people in the West, in western part of Uganda, which Uganda do they want? And I met Bishop Nathan. He sent greetings to you. At the same time, Tumwine'S.
Wow.
Yes, and your brother,
Tumwine'S.
Yes.
Yeah. No, we bless God. Those are two awesome men that God has given the grace. Bishop Nathan Tumwine'S. Actually, Bishop Nathan is part of our guild. He's part of the founding members of the Born Again Faith, and he leads our Western Axis. So I received the greeting, and I'm excited. Thank you for the delivery. Happy New Year, everyone, and Happy New Year to you, Mulanzi. We have not met since the year began.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's been quite a long time.
Yeah.
Well, how is work? You know, you're the spokesperson of BAF, and how is it going? You know?
And no, we are doing well. For the sake of our viewers, Mulanzi has abbreviated and said BAF. You may not know what BAF is. BAF is Born Again Faith in Uganda. God has given us a privilege to serve and to lay a brick on Uganda current as we aspire for the Uganda we would want to see truly for our children's children. But the work is awesome. We just received as the Interreligious Council of Uganda. Born Again Faith entails the charismatics and any shade of Balokole. You know, so Born Again Faith is the apex body of the Balokole in Uganda. Of course, we have various fellowships and alliances and associations in Uganda, which is a good thing. But when we talk about the Born Again Faith, we are talking about the apex body. So we have just received, as the Interreligious Council of Uganda, a consignment from the national census body. Is it UBOS?
UBOS, yeah. Uganda Bureau of Statistics.
Yes, we just received a consignment yesterday. It was such an amazing of computers and gadgets which were used in the recent concluded census in Uganda. They said, okay, now the religious fraternity, you know, IRCU entangles all the faith in Uganda, the Muslims, the Catholics, Anglican, the Orthodox, the Baha'i, the SDA, and the Balokole. So they said, now we cannot wait until 10 years from now to do more census. So all the gadgets, the computers, the laptops, the everything, let it be in the hands of the Interreligious Council of Uganda, distributed amongst the various faiths, so that you take stock of your people. Because the recently concluded census, like you remember, and most of you that are watching, there was a contention. This body says, you gave us less. This religion says, you gave us, this is not who we are. We are not well represented. The Balokole say, it cannot be that. If you say we have increased in the last 10 years by 15%, we cannot be this. So they have given us that, and we think it will be a good thing, not because we could not afford it, but it is a gesture about cooperation. That
working together.
Yeah, the state versus religion, religion and state. So that means there is such a trust like has not been there before. And so we bless God. The work is going on well, but of that, besides, as the Balokole, we are making strides. Yeah, we're making strides, causing empowerments, establishing financial empowering bodies, encouraging our parishioners to study, to go back and study those that never had an opportunity at the beginning. So I think we are doing better than we have ever been. this time around, yes.
Okay, how far now on the issue of false teachers, the cults, how far on that issue? You may be empowering them financially and even other stuff, but when the misege are increasing in eating up your work.
You see, Malanzi, some of these things are so dynamic that nobody has the capacity to weed them out. Even at times of Jesus, these people were. You remember about Jesus, you know, a man that was acclaiming and claiming to be possessing supernatural powers, you know, and yet he didn't. Then there was Simon the sorcerer, the manipulator, you know, who was not after the doctrine of Christ, but he was like saying, sell me what you have so that whoever I lay hands upon, there should be something that should happen to him. You know, manipulation, that control, that witchcraft in church, in the first church. Can you imagine in the first church? You know, this is literally when the church had just been born, and we have people like Simon the witch. And so the false teachers and false pastors and false evangelists, we shall live with them. But the thing is, the countermeasures that we are using now is easy to tell. You know, it's easy to tell. It's like the poor. Nobody has the capacity. We may talk about the PDM, we can talk about the Emioga, householder, empowerment, etc. Every government program, nobody has the power to get rid of the poor among us, because Jesus said it, and it became almost a ratified truth. He said, the poor you shall dwell with all the time. But this woman has done such a great thing by breaking the alabaster oil and then putting it on my feet, wiping my feet with her hair, a treasure, and then an expensive investment. So, but the poor you shall stay with. So the teachings are continuing. We are causing awareness. Like myself and Dr. Serada and our panel every Sunday. We have done it for several years. Myself, it is since 2009 that I've been part of the IMC. And what we are doing is we have tailored a program called Ebizimba or Kukiriza. And in this program, we teach the nation and the people that care to listen. That, hey, look, these are the signs how you can tell about these people. This is how they manifest. This is how they tell you. And this is how they are building their churches. And this is how they are building the clout around them. This is how they are building, you know, the name around them. So it is easy for someone to tell. And the choice now remains with the people. But we have done the warning. Yes.
Well, thank you so much. It's good to have such a recap and such a word from the spokesperson of the Born Again Faith in Uganda, Apostle Charles Tumwine'S. Now, let's dive into our menu for today.
Yes.
Ooh, Uganda has just concluded the hottest elections. Hottest. I'm using the word hottest intentionally, because a lot has surfaced. We've seen a lot, and we're here to hear from you. Did we, or do we as Uganda, walk the talk of democracy when you dive into the electoral process of our nation?
I think, without mincing words, Uganda, of course, like most African countries, we do not merit, we do not have the audacity to talk about the word democracy. If we did, we should talk about it, but in passing, you know, in a more passive way. Otherwise, what we just saw on 15, 16, and the subsequent days of January was a totally different thing from what we think ought to be, you know. So democracy in its positive application in Uganda, you don't speak without a pinch of salt. When we talk about democracy, especially in Uganda, you speak with a hesitation, because we saw what was happening at the voting places. I was one of the local observers, which were accredited by the Electoral Commission, you know, by the courtesy of IRCU and other people. So I had the privilege to traverse wherever I could, you know, but you could look at a situation, and I was at one point in a fix, you know, where members of the opposition was saying this voting paper is invalid because someone was trying to tick and slightly it went into another box of another candidate. So whenever they would raise it, and it is not for an opposition candidate, say, no, sir, that one. So I would be entangled in that kind of thing until when I said, you know what, I think those that they will regard not valid, I cannot prevail over them, and they're doing that in a pursuit, in thinking that we are now exercising our democratic rights, and when it comes to their leader, if someone put a thumb print, they don't mind how they have touched it. There's akokalamu, that is valid. That one was invalid, but this one is so invalid. I said I could end up in trouble here, so let me just do the observation and don't get into the advisory to bring in an input as a senior citizen, but also as someone that has been trusted to be in charge of this entire the Chira sector. So I let them be, and then the voting went on. Now, back to the question, I think our democracy is still lacking.
First and foremost, Apostle, what is democracy?
Democracy would be a governance, a system of governance, which is based on the opinion of the majority. What everybody think is good, that's a democratic way, because we have the theocracy, we have democracy, and other cracies. So democracy would be a system of governance which allows us to govern ourselves, but on consensus. Me, Charles Tumwine'S, and Mlanzi, and Junior, and everybody else, we say, no, in our village, this is what we want. We don't want a borehole. We think it is not good. We want a spring water. We shall raise money and then dig a well, and then we make it clean. Democratically, we say, okay, that is what we need to do. In our country, we must drive, in our region, we must drive similar vehicles. So this is our democracy. So democracy, but also it is not limited to that definition. Every country looks at democracy differently. Every region, every country looks at democracy differently. I remember 4 years ago, you asked a question which has come back in my spirit. You said, Apostle, you live in two worlds, the Western and Africa. How are the systems, in those places, how are they impacting on the citizens in those countries vis-a-vis the systems in Uganda, in Africa? So democracy would be, how do we want to be governed? And then we vote how we want to live. We vote how we want to see things in our community, in our society. Everything is by consensus. Do you think this makes sense? Yes. Okay. The majority have it all. Do you think this is not good? So in a nutshell, that is a democracy, how it will be defined in a nutshell. Yes.
So coming back now to walking the talk of democracy in electoral process, you think we've got some work to do. I have had two political analysts talking about this, and they brought up two things. They said Uganda, I don't know if you are in agreement with them, is lacking what we call voter education and civic education.
I agree.
You agree?
I agree. Because I looked firsthand where people, because of the absence of voter education, someone would say, I don't like the rest of the candidates on this paper, so I'm going to cross them. So someone will get a pen and then cross from top to the middle and say, these ones I don't want. This is my candidate. And then they would tick. That is an invalid vote. And then someone would remove the eyes by poking with a pen in a basin where they were voting from, and then poke the eyes of a candidate they don't want, and then they tick
on the one they want.
That's invalid as well. Invalid as well. So I truly agree 100%. Voter education, civic education, so that our people know what it means. How do you make your vote invalid, by yourself? How do you vote and then you trust the process? But because of what we are going to look at in the subsequent dialogue, you find that someone cannot trust the system, someone cannot trust the people that are in charge, and therefore we begin to take the laws in our hands and we begin to do what we think.
Okay. Well, I don't want to, to ask the Uganda you want. I want to hear the Uganda you want. I want to leave it to you, Apostle. Now, as an observer, you've been observing, you've been voting, number one, and two, you've been observing elections in Uganda.
Yes.
What should really change, and who who should pioneer the change?
Because the English say that where there is a will, there is a way.
Okay.
In my understanding, it looks like we have not developed enough quest. We have not developed enough will, you know, to make sure we move in the right direction. Because this is supposed to be government, our leaders, to like say, hey, if we are going to bring the voter machine, you know, to help us in the process to ease the confusion, then let there be a will, number one, but also let us know what is going to happen just in case. What is plan B? What is the backup in case they fail like they failed in most places? How can we trust that running away from the machines which you thought were going to be the most trusted to now to the manual, the traditional, we are safe. So now you find that who is going to pioneer is supposed to be our leaders, because some of these things cannot be done by any person. You know, it's like security, it's like the economic, the money mountain. It's like some of these things are a preserve of the state. They have the monopoly, you know, to like say, hey, we want Uganda, because I could also see, Mlanzi, in the recently concluded election, there is voter fatigue.
What is that?
The voter fatigue is where people say, why should I?
I need to put that down.
It looks like, you know, there is voter fatigue where people say, why am I voting? Because I can predict what is likely to happen. We've been voting since 1980, where most of us remember very well. Why should I continue voting? I'll stay at home. That is why you see there was a decline and a very sharp fall from the numbers registered and approved for the voting to 10 million, thereby.
From 21 million.
From 21 million. So now you ask you a question and say, what happened to the 10 million? That's 50%, you know, not 5 missing, but 50%. So the voter fatigue in Uganda, like it is in most African countries, is because the people now no longer trust the process. They no longer trust the process, and we've been voting. 1980, I was a young man. I never voted, but the subsequent votings, I've been voting until last month, January, religiously. Now, the voter fatigue is that atmosphere where people say, should not waste my time. It's a public holiday. I know I will not go to work, but I rather stay in my home than to go hustle in the sun, hustle with the rogues and anyone that could injure me probably. And I can almost predict what is going to happen. But in any case, even the people who have been voting from the local council one, delivery of service has not been forthcoming. We have voted them thinking they're going to work on our issues, because a lay person does not need a 315 million vehicle and to share in that cut that a member of parliament is going to get. A lay person in Ibutambala Gomba just needs clean water, needs a good road. It could be a graveled road, not tarmac, but graveled with well drainage to take their merchandise from Kanoni to place that, to Mpiji to that place, you know, and that's what they need. So now the voter fatigue comes as a result of saying, I've been voting and I don't see value for the vote. Like we say value for money, but I don't see value for the vote. We vote them, they don't come to us until 5 years are over. They return to us. The village is not lit, this is not this. The water, we share water with the animals. We take water from the ponds. There is nobody that comes with a program of spraying. We have, you know, our place is infested with mosquitoes. So they develop a voter fatigue. But even then, if we had civic education and voter sensitization proper, not 1 month to go, people would probably reconsider.
What I see, Apostle, is because there's always a budget allocated to the Electoral Commission.
Yes.
Where do they waste that money from?
That's what we said, that 2 months to the voting, they come and say, this is what is going to happen. I looked at a boy at one center. And he did not appreciate the computer use. I asked him, I said, bro, did you receive the training? He said, sure, we did, but it was for a short time. But I'm looking at the very simplest on the computer. The brother was struggling, you know? He was struggling, yeah. And I'm like, now, this is not his problem. He was looking for an earning. So they called them, they give them the funding, and they inflate the budget. They shall recruit 10,000 voter guides and officials, and they will inflate the budget. Your question is, where does this money go? Because there is such a huge budget. It is not even classified. It's made public, and we get to know that this is the money allocated to the Electoral Commission. So the money goes to inflation because of corruption, and these people are ill-trained. Because if you cannot know how to tabulate, how to get this information, and then feed it, the basic, you know, not spreadsheet, not, you know, but the basic. And you see he's struggling, and I'm like, oh my God.
What's going on here?
Yeah, he was struggling. So the budget is inflated, and then after every election, you see buildings coming up, you see vacations, you see this coming up because of the system. The system lacks people putting them to task for accountability.
Yeah, I had put something down here, the power of institutional dependence, and I think you're driving me into that. But there's something I see when you said, when you talk about how, for example, the Commission is spending the money, there's something big I see, which is we don't plan as a country. You cannot tell me you organize the elections in 2021,
yes,
and you're given 5 years, and again you do the same mistake without correcting it.
We don't plan. Or if we plan, but not intentionally.
Okay, there is intentional planning?
Yeah. I've done leadership at that other good level, which can help us as the church, but also as a nation. There is what we call intentionality. When we are doing planning and projecting and financial budgets, there is what we call intentionality.
Yeah.
They could plan, but without intention. Someone may say, Apostle Charles, what do you mean by intention? What drives them is the intention. No. That is the general thing. They have an intention of conducting a free and fair election in Uganda. That is the general. But intentionality is to like say, but why are we into this process? How do we make the people, the young people that never voted in 2021, to like this? What must we do to make sure we are trusted sundry by anybody and everybody? That is intention. Be intentional. Plan with an intention. Not to plan haphazardly and say, I want to present a budget and say, we planned. I want to have a justification for my cut. I want to have a justification that they will say, but they planned, they went to Nebi, they went to Moyo, they secured vehicles, they procured this, they procured that. No. Plan with an intention of Uganda at heart. This is what happens in other nations, you know, that the planning is not only planning, as it were, in the textbook, but it's intentional. Why are you planning? We must look beyond the electoral process, because now the aftermath of what happened is still shaking the nation. We are still grappling with the aftermath of what happened, 15, 16, and even before. We are still grappling with people in the hospitals. I was seeing people in Kayunga that were shot, either mistakenly or whatever. We shall not talk about that. But now that is a long-term recovery. That's a long-term injury and permanent disability that has come to that woman, that boy, that senior 3 young man that was laying bricks and educating himself to get a better life. So these are the people we must factor in. The intentionality must be, but as we are planning in this boardroom, what are we wanting to see? Is it to simply, we do it so that tuchikole vewo nako kajja kujja kapasinge kagende? Are we simply planning so that after 3-4 days, then the Electoral Commission chair will announce those that are disgruntled will go to court, they will lose in court, they will go home, and then there will be hatred in the villages, there will be hatred in the communities. Because what happens is, Charles Tumwine'S and Mulanzi, they will go to court, and the arbitrator, who is supposed to be the court, will rule in favor of Mulanzi. Mulanzi stays with Charles Tumwine'S in the village. Mulanzi's children play with Charles Tumwine'S children. There will be enmity that is developing from the grassroots, which is not at this level. but because someone was reckless in their planning. And now our children are having animosity. And now our wives are bickering because it is spilling to them and to the children, even to where they're going to school. And it will spill to other dangerous things, even death.
Yeah.
That I'll give your children poison, I could poison them. May God forbid. You know, I could to punish you, to injure you.
Yeah.
You know, I am the bona fide person that was elected, but then it turned that you are either by whichever system, but you are. Therefore, I'll not leave you to thrive.
Yeah.
I'll not let you to prosper.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Intentionality while planning must be key to put Uganda at heart. As planning is going on, it must not be for a short term. Let us look beyond even the midterm. We look after the elections are over. Our planning should go beyond and say, how are we leaving the people? Are we leaving them better than before the election took place, or we leave them disenfranchised? They are like up in arms, you know, and you wish they never went to the polls. And you wish there was nothing like that. And you wish there was not even a mention of that. But in the name of democracy, it has to take place. Yeah, in the name of democracy, it has to take place.
In the name and function.
In the name and the function. In the name of donor funding and donor community, it has to take place. In the eye of the international community, it has to take place. But are we doing it the way we're supposed to do, or we are doing it, just let it get out of the way, we put it behind us, the term starts, the parents will begin to think about the new term. They'll forget the elections in January. They'll think about the tuition, the school fees to send their children. And then before they know, they're talking about Easter program. And then it is now forgotten. It will come back again because we have not found a solution. The Uganda I want to see is a Uganda where there is not only democracy, but democracy exercised to the letter.
To the letter. Yeah. Having said that, Apostle, I remember when we were, going through coming in of the results, they asked a question to the chairman.
Yes.
Hey, chairman, let us know, how are those results coming from the electoral districts to the National Tally Center? And well, it's absurd. He couldn't explain it very well. And the same that happened last time. Last time we were in Chambogo, I myself was, observing it very well together with Mr. Agenda Semakula. And we cannot explain this, and we are talking about democracy. You can't explain how results are coming in, and you are talking we are a democratic country. You can't explain why the internet was, every election. It's now becoming a habit, by the way.
It is.
It's now becoming a habit. It was a discipline in the beginning. Now it is a habit.
It has become a
every
practice.
election. Every election, internet must be off.
Yeah.
Where are we heading?
No, you see, I was in Ilweza Tally Center, and I looked. I said something is not right because as a professional accountant, we deal with figures and numbers. I'll tell you, even when you want to apply statistics, you don't simply come with a block figure and then you dump it, you push it up. You must show us the breakdown of the figure that you have. You remember, Mlanzi, when we were still in school, you showed how you got into the answer. They want to see how you got into the answer. And if you got an answer, you would earn either half, or a mean teacher would not mark it at all. He wants to see how did you get to the answer.
Let me make you laugh, Apostle. I was actually getting more marks in mathematics through the formula, but not the answer. I could prefer to get the answer, but I could earn marks in the formula. I could get the formula very well, and the teacher would be like, why are you getting wrong answers? You cannot get good answers, but with the right formula.
No, it's amazing because we all expected that a normal, democratic, transparent way would be to show us and say, from the Tally district in Wachiso, in Abim, in Gulu, in Mkono, in Buyukwe, in Entebbe, there were 113 centers. And then out of the 113 centers, this is what happened. And then the total in percentage, But when you come with the percentage, and you say Western region, then this the percentage, come back in the next reading. And then you come and say Eastern region. How did we get to that percentage in the Eastern region? Tell us how many voting centers were in Jinja City, you know, because when we know, then it helps that electoral agent of candidate W to follow, because they have the idea forms. They will know that in Mafobira, in Chimaka, we had 3 voting centers, and out of those centers, we have a population of this. Therefore, that is tallying. Now you come at the national tally, you show us, you know, not to show us the answer, show us the formula. You know, tell us how many districts. We have known the number of the voters is less than 21 million as projected, are registered and claimed on the voters register. Okay, agreed. Now this number that we are dealing with, show us what came from Mukono, how many, you know, Nachifuma and all these places. So, yeah.
Apostle, you see, this is what I see. When an election is going on, and especially in the delivery of results, there are 2 kinds of people. Number one, the agent and the candidate, they are not looking at the final figure.
No.
They are looking at the formula. How did we reach to that?
Here, how far are we here? How are we doing? How is our man doing? How is our woman doing? They're not interested in the final thing.
The voters, we are the ones who are interested
in the final thing. But this agent, they have books and they have been writing and they are keeping track. They are, you know, and that is why you see in most developed countries, in Africa especially, even the opposition, they must have their tally center. And what they are tallying in their centers is not a national, and it's legal, it's proper. You know, what they are tallying is when I call them and I say, I've been in Namugongo, Mbalwa, I've been in Insao, okay, we are finished. They have closed, they have sealed the envelopes and say, okay, now I send to the district in Wachiso. From Mbalwa, you know, from Chitukutwe, I send to Wachiso. So now the agents are tallying. They must have a place how to tabulate, how to tally. But when you ask the opposition and say, where was your tally center? Where were you tallying from? They will say, no, we had exercise books. Okay, that is good. But you have to have boys and girls, these men that know numbers, who can know figures, who are quick statisticians. They are sitting in place. This intentionality, with an intentionality. Yeah, with intentionality.
You're not applying it to only those in the government, but even those in opposition.
Yeah,
they must be intentional.
Yeah, you are intentional. And you want peace for the country, and you can stand and defend this in the courts of law. But you never had a tally center. What you are telling us, how did you gather that? How did you compile that, what you have? How did you verify that what came from Kasao is what it is? So that is the problem. You know, the last man, the end user consumer wants to hear my candidate 71.5%, 25.2%, you know, etc. But these agents, it is transmitted in 2 ways. One is the agent and his candidate, and 2 is the government people, from the voting to the district to the national tally center, and the final results announced. But now someone will say, how did you arrive at that? How did you get to that? Show us, how did you get to that?
And it becomes hard to explain.
It becomes hard.
Taking, I want to drive you from looking at only the institution, the Electoral Commission. One of the things that have been said about it is that they are not independent, as they say. That's why some of these irregularities are happening from their work and from the process. Taking a bigger picture, do we have institutional dependence? Our institutions independent? Can they make decisions on their own so that we Ugandans can have a better service delivery?
When you look at the elections in Kenya that brought in President Uhuru 1 and 2, and which brought in President Ruto 1, which is still continuing with the first term, you see that the late Raila Odinga and these other opposition bodies, they were so close. And what they brought to the courts when there was a dispute was not so different from what they had anticipated it would be, because they had tally centers and they were keen and they were into it. They were intentional about what they were doing, not for themselves as the opposition alone, but even for the government to task them, to put them to task. These bodies are supposed to be independent. And actually, if you ask Justice Biabakama, he will tell you we are independent. But from the look of things, and when you look without any prejudice, without any missing of words, when you look at how the Electoral Commission worked and works, you will be tempted to think that it's not independent. When you look, you will think this is not an independent body. Because you look at polling center, someone has garnered these votes, and everybody's celebrating, everybody's rejoicing, the DL forms and everything is put in place. And then before you know, someone else is announced. And you say, what happened? They say, there is a call which has come through. There is a call which has come through. They said, please, don't make no mistake. You know, of course, without verification, because me and you as civilians, we don't know what that call means. We don't know power from above, what it means. We don't know who makes those calls and why they would respect them. But you find that in some countries, they will stand their ground. They will not budge, you know, they will not budge to that. They will say, oh, this is what it is. And, you know, whatever you want to do, you do. I rather resign than to be compromised, and I rather resign.
I love the way they do it. He can even say, I'm sorry, Mr. Mulanzi, I can't do that.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
and simply. I was looking at the other day, 3 days ago, at one key person in the government in the United Kingdom. You know, he was not caught in fault, but he was a friend of a man, Epstein.
Epstein files are going on.
So he was a friend, and then he talked good about that man to the United Kingdom, the parliament. So now he said, no, I'm sorry, I have to resign. I was a friend to a person that had caused the damage. Girls and women are crying. He inflicted pain to humankind. I cannot continue to be a leader. And then he resigned. I'm like, wait a minute. When shall we ever develop such a culture? And you say, you know what, Charles Tumwine, I'm sorry, I cannot do that. This is what I have on paper. I cannot change it. And this is the will of the people. The people have spoken. I cannot change it. I'm sorry, sir. And then puts it back in the bag and then announces. But because of the infringement, because whoever buys you a flute determines the song. Whoever buys you a fiddle determines the song. You must play on that fiddle. You know, you cannot play the song you want to play. You must play the song that excites him, because he bought a fiddle. He bought the Entongoli. He bought the Omulere Gofua. Agambi play Amazing Grace. You cannot play any other song. Yes, and especially in Uganda, you know, because you're from that background, you must play Amazing Grace. You know, therefore, I think from the look of things, and in book and in our books of law, the Electoral Commission is supposed to be an independent electoral commission with an independent body and leadership and management structure, from the chairman to these other justices, you know, to the people that come into the field. But is it what we see? No. What we see is a manipulated system. We see such a manipulated system.
Yeah, the office of the president, you know this very well, more than me, Apostle. The office of the president, through the Constitution of Uganda, has got all the powers to appoint even an insect in Uganda.
True.
How can we go about that? Because even if Mr. Museveni is no longer president, anyone who can occupy that office will still hold the same powers if the law is not amended.
You're right. You're right.
How can we get out of that loop? Because we are looped into that.
The Uganda we want, the new Uganda that we are looking forward to seeing, which will come at one point, is a Uganda where what is in the book is what we follow. This is what happens in America. You know, this is what happens in America. That even if you think you are not happy with that, but this is what is written. Even if you think you are marginalized, but this is what is happening. This is what is written. That when you come as an immigrant in America, and then you're not seeking for asylum, but you have come through this, or because there are various ways how you can attain citizenship in America, and then they say now the procedure is this: we shall observe you for 5 years. We shall give you a green card because that is the law. We shall not give you our passport, but you shall be a citizen in that sense. Actually, you're called a permanent resident. You know, as a permanent resident, you shall have all the privileges like anybody else, but you shall not have our passport. You say, okay. And then during the 5 years, we shall observe you, we shall monitor, we shall see your contribution to the national income. You know, are you working here in America? Are you contributing? You know, we shall follow you because we have given you a social security. Whenever we log in, we see Mulanzi, wherever you are. If you're in Uganda, if you are in Sudan, we know where you are. The moment you step out of the airport, you know, the spotlight is on you. We shall know where you went and what you're doing, who you are meeting. We shall get into your social platforms, the handles. We shall read everything you write, if it's political or not political, because this is the Constitution. And after 5 years, we shall cause you to swear, and then you shall write an uptake test, small test, and then we shall give you the passport. You shall now swear to be a citizen of the United States of America. At that point, it is finished. Because it's in the book. From all the way since independence until now. You remember, your birthday is
4th July.
4th July.
Yeah.
So that is how you are easy to remember the independence of America. Yeah.
1789.
Yeah. Okay. Now, so because it is written, we can change that. We can literally change that if we abide and honor and esteem the Constitution. We need electoral reforms so that the voter fatigue is not exercised. Time will come that even the 10 million, may God forbid, when even the 10 million cannot make up that number. Yeah. And we are 5 million. Who will go to the voting? Time will come because people are fatigued. They vote, they don't see no progress in the right direction. They vote, they don't see the service flowing their way. They vote, they get the opposite. I voted for this person, I get this. There is a manipulation, you know, of this process, of the system. So we need an electoral reform. We need to see which are those clauses in the Constitution that could be amended in order to make sure that democracy is adhered to. That we will live, because Uganda is a democratic nation, as we say, agreed, you know. But how did we import that? Did we get it before we were ready? Did we get it prematurely? Did we lack something? Was it not the time for us to go democratic? Because before all this, before 1962, Uganda was here. You know, Uganda never started in 1962. Buganda was accomplished. Bunyoro was doing their thing. And Kole, we had Obugabe, and everything was moving on. Busoga, their Chabazinga. I mean, the Adola of the Chapadola, the Emoli, the you know, all those formations, you know. And now when we brought in this democratic thing encompassing, we began to lose our values. We began to lose our patriotism, our loyalty to loving my Buganda, to loving my Ankole kingdom, to Obugabe, to loving my Bunyoro, you know, Bunyoro, you know. So now we began to like be in this array. So if we don't make those necessary reforms, we may end up having a thing tagged as democracy, but when actually it's not democracy.
We've got only 2 minutes to sign out for this first episode with Apostle Tumwine'S. But I have a quick question for him. I don't know how he's gonna eat it up in the 2 minutes he has. The commercialization of our politics. It is sucking some of us who are looking at the next generation.
Terrible.
Someone said in this 12th parliament, we are going to have 70 or 80% of MPs who are transactional. I was like, oh my God, what are you talking about? 70% of them are transactional members of parliament. Practical Apostle, how can we reform that from commercialization, you know, to some that is not as it is?
Accountability.
Huh?
Accountability, because accountability sounds like a big thing. Indeed it is. But it is where everything hinges. If we send a candidate to parliament, do we have mechanisms how to put them to task?
Are you talking about we in the constituencies?
With the people.
With the people.
With the people.
With the people with power.
Yeah, with the people, with the power. Do we have the mechanisms of checking them out? Or we want a person who will go, begin to insult, begin to act like a clown, begin to, accountability. We don't have a culture where we have those barazas, we have those meetings in the village, in the constituency, to task, to make evaluation, to get those people in among us, to act as our think tank, to follow up on what this member of parliament promised us. We don't know. We don't know what comes from the local government. We don't know what comes from the central government. We don't know what comes from your friends as a member of parliament. Our friend, Honorable Sivambi. But 2 minutes is too small. He lobbied. He got whatever he got. He transformed his constituency, not with the support of government, not from Umeme, not from EDCL, but individually. So he got what he got. He lit the village. Solar panels, solar lightings, personal transformer, electrical transformer. The village was lit. An individual person, that is not from government, it's not from any funding, not budget cut, but individually. So we don't even have mechanisms to know this person, this that is doing, is he doing it from a funding from government? That our region, Katikamu, has been allotted this money? Is he doing it from his friend from Germany, that he has brought this brooder, which broods a chicken? Is it from his personal coffer he has been saving to make us feel good as the voters? And therefore, because there is no accountability, the commercialization of politics will increase. Because someone told you and say, I spent 300 million plus. Therefore, since I'm not going to parliament, whoever that is going to come, he must give me my 300 million. How did you spend that 300 million? He said, getting a party ticket to stand. To stand is so costly. I'll not divulge the details.
I sold my property.
I sold my property. Yeah, and now I know for sure I'm not going there, but whoever that comes, before I endorse him, you as who? You endorse him as who? In which capacity are you endorsing a person? Really? He said, before I endorse the person that you should vote for, he must write somewhere that is going to give me my 300 million. And the agreement was made, 300 million was paid, the person, was voted. Where are we headed? How did we get here?
Apostle, we will start from there tomorrow. Our viewers and our listeners, allow me to stop here with Apostle Charles Tumwine. We are talking about the Uganda we want, and he has talked about the electoral process, and he has given us ideas on how it can actually be democratic. And when we hold an election in the next generation, we will all be proud of it. It's what we are yearning for. We'll be right back tomorrow with Apostle Charles Tumwine. For now, we are saying bye-bye.